Have you ever set yourself on fire just to keep others warm? Recall those moments when you drained your own energy to keep others standing. The times when a kindness you reluctantly offered turned step by step into self-sacrifice, and eventually into burnout. Always being available, answering every request without question, being labeled the good person. These things may be wonderful for those who benefit from your generosity, but how do you feel when the boundaries of your generosity disappear? It's like a dried-up well. While everyone around you expects water, you can't find a single drop within yourself. To meet each new demand, you lower the bucket deeper into the mud. Eventually, you have no clean water left to offer anyone, and all that remains is a hollow ache inside. We know this world doesn't reward every act of kindness. In fact, those who give the most are often the least remembered. Maybe you're one of them, the one who runs when called, who shoulders the load without being asked, who hides their silent pain to bandage someone else's wounds. And one day, your hands tremble because you have nothing left to give. You're still giving, yet no one asks, "How are you?" This is the moment to stop. Seeing this exhausting cycle may be the greatest turning point of your life, because awareness is the first step to reclaiming your worth. And that awareness gives you not just strength, but true emotional resilience. That's why in this video, we'll explore the 7 different ways excessive kindness and boundless sacrifice harm you. And most importantly, using the ancient teachings of Stoic wisdom, I'll show you how to practically set boundaries in your life. If you're new to the channel, please don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and turn on notifications. That simple action means the world to us and helps bring this mental clarity to more people. Ready? Let's begin. 1. Sharing a burden is not carrying it alone. Sometimes good intentions place us under a weight we never expected. We want to support someone. We become a shoulder to lean on. Then, without realizing it, instead of sharing the load, we end up carrying it entirely. And often we notice too late. The heart wants to help. The soul doesn't want to hurt. But without boundaries, good intentions slowly turn into a cycle that drains us. This reminds me of a story from a farm between a horse and a donkey that I'd like to share with you. One night, the horse complains to the donkey about how grueling his routine is. From dawn to dusk, pulling the plow without rest, facing the heat of the day, the fatigue in his legs and the rope chafing his neck. Meanwhile, the donkey gets to rest and lays around all day once the farmer leaves. The donkey is a good friend and understands the horse's plight. "My dear friend," he replies, "you really do have a heavy workload and I want to help. Here's what you can do to get a day off. When the stable hand comes in the morning, collapse to the ground and groan in pain." The horse follows the advice. The next day, the stable hand tells the farmer the horse is sick and can't pull the plow. The farmer then orders the donkey to take over the task for the day. Wanting only to help his friend, the donkey ends up doing the horse's work all day. By nightfall, he's exhausted and covered in sores. Meanwhile, the rested horse wants to thank him. "What a great friend you are. Thanks to your advice, I rested all day." The donkey groans in response. "And I'm one of those kind souls who started by helping a friend and ended up taking on all his duties." Have you ever felt like that donkey? Share your story in the comments. It means a lot to us. Just like in the story, sometimes we want to help someone so much that we spare no effort. Stoicism teaches us the practice of self-examination. That is, always questioning our impulsive reactions and aiming to live in accordance with reason. This process protects us from impulsive actions and encourages choices aligned with our values. One of the wisest Stoic philosophers, Epictetus, confirms this. When you are about to undertake a task, pause for a moment and reflect on the nature of that task. You will perform your duty more safely if, before beginning, you say to yourself, "I want to accomplish this task and at the same time maintain my moral purpose in harmony with nature." Stoicism gives us a new way of thinking, and the lesson here is clear. If you want to help a friend, do it, but in a way that doesn't allow their burdens to pile onto your shoulders. The Stoics teach us to build balanced relationships where both sides contribute fairly, and no one is overly sacrificed. In short, Living rationally means establishing balanced relationships and avoiding excessive sacrifices that jeopardize your integrity and well-being in every area of life. 2. Reciprocity has an expiration date. Offering our best and expecting nothing in return is a noble attitude emphasized by Stoicism. Yet often, when we give, we find ourselves expecting others to reciprocate in kind. No matter what you do for someone, it's important to understand that reciprocity has an expiration date. Even if the person is grateful in the moment and says they'll never forget your help, over time, most people forget the kindness they received. Sometimes we create expectations about others' actions. So-and-so would never act like that. Or, no matter what happens, I can count on that person. We carry certainties. In a way, we hope for recognition and reciprocation. But when these expectations aren't met, the real problem arises, and we feel crushed, betrayed. That's why avoiding tying our happiness to others' actions, giving without expecting too much in return, protects us from disappointment and teaches us emotional independence, leading to greater inner peace. According to the Stoics, the problem starts with our expectations. By assuming others will respond the way we do, we leave ourselves completely vulnerable. Expecting reciprocation is a natural feeling, but Stoicism reminds us that we cannot control others' actions. We can only control our own actions and reactions. Epictetus reminds us, the true good or evil lies not outside, but in our power to choose and assign meaning. Instead of trying to control external events, we should control how we respond to them. Epictetus's words reinforce the idea that we must accept events as they are, without creating imaginary expectations or trying to control them. It helps us realize that good and evil depend on our rational choices. So, when being generous, be aware that reciprocation may not always come. Let's avoid creating expectations. Expecting reciprocation can lead to discouragement, frustration, and disappointment. The real key is to focus on what you can control and not waste time on things beyond your power. Stoicism teaches that true wealth lies in our ability to give, without expecting anything in return. Finding joy in the act of giving and maintaining inner peace regardless of others' reactions is a core principle. Therefore, we should cultivate an independent generosity that brings inner satisfaction, even without recognition or guaranteed reciprocation. 3. There is no limit to demands. If we go back a few centuries, we see that some royal families relied on servants to dress them, comb their hair, and perform basic personal hygiene tasks. This lack of common sense and boundaries seems absurd to us today. But when we look at our own lives, how many favors do people ask of us that they could do themselves? People will expect a little more from us as long as we allow it. This is where moderation comes in, knowing when to give, when to stop, and where to protect ourselves. Kindness may be a value that comes from our essence, but when we offer it in balance, we neither exhaust ourselves nor lose its meaning. Because when we keep control, neither our emotional energy nor our sincerity is depleted. When we constantly take on others' responsibilities, we not only increase our own burden, we also prevent others from growing and facing their own challenges. This is clearly seen in the story of a mother and her adult daughter living in a small rural town. Despite her age, the mother lovingly did everything for her daughter, never letting her lift a finger. Over the years, the daughter became completely dependent on her mother, only getting up for basic needs. Because the mother never left her daughter alone, she kept postponing her own routine appointments and checkups. Tragically, one day the mother suddenly fell ill and passed away. This raised concerns about the daughter's future well-being, but after her mother's death, without maternal care, the daughter continued her life normally, surprising everyone. This story shows how even well-intentioned and loving excessive attention can hinder personal growth. This dilemma doesn't just affect others, it affects us too. Neglecting our own needs while constantly taking on others' responsibilities traps us in a one-sided giving cycle. In this dynamic, only one person gives while the other only takes. This arrangement is exhausting and completely undermines emotional well-being. If we get used to constantly giving, those who benefit from our generosity may begin to expect and demand more. No matter how much you do, boundaries lose their meaning for the receiver. Practicing generosity is very important, but setting clear boundaries on how we offer help and maintaining balance is vital. While protecting our own peace and well-being, we also encourage others to take on their responsibilities and grow as individuals. Recall the wisdom of Emperor Marcus Aurelius, who wrote in Meditations, "It is a person's duty to stand on their own feet, not to be kept upright by others." In this delicate balance, we discover true generosity that benefits both others and ourselves. 4. Superficial relationships instead of real connections. The famous Stoic statesman, writer, and philosopher Seneca left an important legacy by sharing his wisdom on true bonds in friendship and relationships through letters. His words emphasize this truth: "A friend for profit will abandon the friendship for profit. You think you are loved, but you are not loved. You have been bought. If the thing that sustains the friendship is not the friendship itself, but a benefit, when the benefit disappears, so does the friendship." This truth shows us that excessive generosity, especially when we don't question why the other person wants something, can turn relationships from real bonds into superficial, interest-based connections, often due to fear of judgment, the desire not to disappoint others, or feeling unworthy. We develop a sense of value based not on who we are, but on what we can offer. Excessive kindness is often a way to express this conditioning. To compensate, we dedicate ourselves excessively to others. Yet Stoicism, in practice, emphasizes the importance of inner sufficiency and inner control, allowing you to build a foundation based on solid principles that are not aligned with this behavior. Value, worthiness, and satisfaction are inner feelings that must come from within. That's why we must constantly work on our self-respect and beliefs about ourselves. This dynamic is not limited to friendships. It spreads to all aspects of our relationships, professional, personal, or social. Building interest-based connections creates a fragile foundation that cannot withstand small changes or the slightest difficulty. As Epictetus reminds us, it is very easy to find friends in prosperity. In adversity, nothing is more difficult. We should base our relationships on accepting who we are, including our flaws and qualities. This way, we build connections that not only allow us to grow, but also recognize and accept our true essence first and foremost. Historical principles promote a more solid and authentic approach, where true connection develops from mutual understanding and respect for core values. 5. Priorities get pushed to the back. The main goal of Stoicism is to live a virtuous life. To achieve this, we need to continuously develop our character and learn to master our emotions. This gives us direction to reach our best version. But when we shift our focus entirely to others' priorities, we stray from our own path. Setting boundaries in our relationships and prioritizing our own responsibilities is crucial to preserving our authenticity and well-being. If you feel drowned under others' priorities, you are probably avoiding something inside that causes pain and fear. When we busy ourselves with others' responsibilities, we neglect our own lives. In a way, it's easier to avoid facing our inner boundaries and fears, and we use the time we dedicate to others' priorities as an excuse. But the cost of this relentless dedication is high. In the process, you lose yourself, and you realize that your own life has been forgotten while overly engaging with others' problems. When you face the silence of your own existence, the pain and fear you were trying to avoid return with renewed intensity. Accepting that listening to our own needs and priorities is not selfishness, but a form of self-care, and preserving authenticity is essential. The Stoics teach us that living in accordance with virtues is the path to a meaningful life. One of the leading philosophers on this reality, Seneca, said, "Of all the days of our life, we dedicate very few to ourselves." The next time you find yourself lost in the urge to constantly serve others, pause for a moment. Notice the uncomfortable emotions that arise in solitude and embrace them with compassion. Allow yourself to be authentic in your desires and needs. Set healthy boundaries and learn to say no when necessary. Understand the importance of putting on your own oxygen mask first to offer balanced and genuine generosity to others. Only in this way can you help others more effectively without neglecting your own needs. 6. Avoid being seen as fragile. Stoicism encourages us to develop a healthier mind by setting boundaries and applying self-discipline, enabling us to have inner strength and self-control. Over time, ironically, when you offer excessive help, instead of being seen as an authority or collaborator, you create the opposite impression. In this context, lack of boundaries makes you vulnerable. People perceive this fragility, and instead of respecting you, begin to use and exploit you in various ways. They start seeing you as someone always ready to help, taking on every task without question, eager from the start. As a result, they abuse this good intention, dragging you into complete burnout and frustration. But when you start saying no firmly yet respectfully, you notice something interesting. People's perception of you changes. You are no longer the person who immediately submits to every request, but someone who values themselves enough to protect their boundaries. From that point on, the treatment you receive changes too. Because when you show how much you value yourself, others are forced to treat you with the same respect. This shift in perception is very important, because by saying this simple word, you transform how others see you. You overcome your mental barriers. You become a strong person who can defend their boundaries and thus deserve respect. Ultimately, respect comes not only from what you do for others, but also from how you treat yourself. One of the greatest Stoic writers and philosophers of his time, Seneca, already knew this truth when he said, "What you think of yourself is much more important than what others think of you." By setting boundaries and applying self-discipline, you send a clear message to the world. You deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. So the next time you find yourself in a situation where your boundaries are being tested, remember the power hidden in this small word. No, by saying it, you not only defend yourself, you also reaffirm your own worth. 7. Being remembered only when needed. Our actions send messages to the world and the people around us. If you are unconditionally ready to help, it's natural for people to approach you only when they need something. Everyone notices this willingness. This can lead to challenging consequences. For example, you may notice that some friends who previously enjoyed your company start excluding you from parties, social events, or small celebrations. They only remember you when they need help. The attention they show you seems to exist only in moments when they need a favor. This behavior may seem cruel, but when viewed from a new perspective, it's not so surprising. People usually prefer to invite their closer friends, family, or those with whom they maintain balanced relationships for fun times. They keep work colleagues or favor-based collaborators out of those moments. This change in treatment can be shocking and completely unfair. You may find yourself in a position of being excluded during moments of relaxation while openly offering help. This selective treatment can hurt. It can create feelings of disappointment and being deceived. But from a Stoic perspective, this dynamic is a test of discernment. It forces you to realize who truly values your friendship and who only benefits from your generosity. To see who our real friends are, we should stop looking at their words and pay attention to their actions. Stoicism does not promote skepticism or distrust. Instead, it aims to develop a deep understanding of human nature. Using our discernment, we can choose to help those who truly need it and genuinely value our sincere support. By doing so, we preserve our energy and surround ourselves with people who care about us for who we are, not just for what we can offer. Stoicism offers us tools for growth. It gives you the opportunity to apply Stoic self-discipline by working with your mind, setting clear boundaries, and deciding how to spend your energy in your life. Defining your boundaries is a simple process, but without practice, it can leave you directionless on where to start. Now, let's examine 4 principles that will prevent others from taking advantage of you. 8. Eliminate the fear of saying no. Ask yourself, what is the root of your fear of saying no? Often, the roots of this behavior go back to childhood. We are repeatedly taught things like, if you're not good, no one will love you or you won't go to heaven. These concepts are laced with fear and internalized as unquestionable truths recorded in memory. But Stoicism emphasizes the importance of introspection and constant questioning in the pursuit of a meaningful and purposeful life. Today, as adults with the power to make decisions about our lives, we understand that this fear was instilled during childhood when we didn't have the conditions to question the reality of threats. By studying Stoicism, we learn tools to understand our emotions and to pause and reflect on our reactions to life, instead of letting instinct and habits control us. When you feel overwhelmed, saying no is a way to apply self-control. 9. Pay attention to your emotions. To maintain balance, we first need to become aware of our inner world. Stoicism is not about suppressing emotions, but understanding and directing them. That is, instead of ignoring what we feel, asking where this emotion comes from and what it's telling us. Make it a habit to ask yourself, how do I feel when doing this favor? If what you give brings you peace and warmth, it's a healthy sharing. But if you constantly feel tired, inwardly resentful, drained, or invisible, this shows that the balance is lost. Noticing your emotions allows you to see when sacrifice turns from love into self-consumption. This awareness prepares the ground for readjusting relationships and protecting yourself. 10. See yourself as a priority. We often learn to catch up with others, complete our responsibilities, and fulfill our role in the flow of life. But when it comes to ourselves, we forget to stop and care. Yet recognizing our own needs, making space for them, and taking care of ourselves is a fundamental necessity for both our inner peace and our relationships. Stoicism reminds us, a good life begins with tending to our own inner world. That is, observing how we feel, listening to our body, accepting our emotions without belittling them. This attention we show to ourselves is the most human and gentlest form of self-discipline. So don't neglect yourself. Take good care of your health, your body, your emotions. Listen to yourself not to criticize but to understand. Forgive your mistakes. Recognize the opportunity each day offers you to start anew. Set aside a time slot that belongs only to you, whether it's a walk, a cup of tea, or silence. Claim this space. Setting boundaries is not asking for respect. It is showing respect to yourself. When someone pushes this space, you may want to help. But don't hesitate to gently and clearly say that you have a life to tend to first. Seeing yourself as a priority is not selfishness. It is taking responsibility for the life you live. Do we identify the takers? To separate real relationships from superficial ones, we first need to remind ourselves, our emotions, energy, and boundaries belong to us. The Stoics call this two fundamental aspects: self-discipline, that is, deciding for ourselves how much to give; reflection and awareness, that is, being able to see what feels good and what harms us in a relationship. With this perspective, we begin to notice there are some people in our lives who constantly take. They demand a little more of our energy, attention, patience without offering any contribution. Sometimes it's endless complaints. Sometimes it's expecting unlimited attention from you. Sometimes it's a burden that consumes your time. In such relationships, stepping back is not coldness, but self-respect. Moving away from them is protecting your inner peace and your boundaries. And this is exactly what the Stoics call self-control, knowing when to stay and when to withdraw. Maintaining such a relationship is like a parasitic dynamic. The taker drains the host until it's dry. Most likely, you will be the one drained, and those people will not escape the same situation. We must not fall into the illusion that our well-intentioned actions will change another person. Each of us carries within us the willpower necessary for change, and no one but ourselves can open that door. The Stoics believe that bonds of love can extend to all of us and teach us that we have the power to change them. Just as we control our capacity to choose generosity to balance our relationships, we also control our capacity to use discernment and moderation. If we give too little, we seem selfish. If we give too much, we become completely drained in energy and time, and probably financially too. These teachings remind us of balance, moderation, and consciously choosing our actions. I hope this video has helped you realize where you spend your energy and shape your life without consuming yourself. Doing good is certainly valuable, but the important thing is to do it wisely and in balance without losing yourself. As Seneca said, kindness is a treasure. Like a buried treasure, it should be kept hidden and only brought out of the ground when needed. Nature invites us to do good to everyone. Wherever there is a person, there is an opportunity for kindness. Thank you for watching.